There's no country in the world without debt. The United States owes over $38 trillion, the highest in its history. The European Union's debt is around $14 trillion. Japan's nearly $9 trillion. Even oil-rich Saudi Arabia, export giants like Germany and China, all buried in debt. But here's the strange part. If everyone owes money, who are they all in debt to? The answer might surprise you. The world doesn't owe anyone else. It owes itself. But of course, not everyone benefits equally from this system. Some people build fortunes through interest, while others pay for it through taxes. Today, the world's total debt has passed $315 trillion. That's nearly 3 times the size of the global economy. So, how did we get here? It all began hundreds of years ago. In 1694, England ran out of gold during a war with France. The king borrowed money from merchants, promising to repay later through taxes. And that's how the Bank of England was born. That moment changed everything. For the first time, a government could spend money it didn't actually have, and merchants held something incredibly valuable: the government's promise. That promise became known as the government bond, the foundation of the modern financial system. Other nations followed. France copied it, the Dutch refined it, and America used it to fund its revolution. Debt stopped being a weakness. It became a sign of power. If you could borrow, it meant people trusted you. Once upon a time, empires fought over gold. Now, they fight over interest rates. Swords have been replaced by spreadsheets. Centuries passed, and debt became the world's biggest export. The US owes $38 trillion, Japan $9 trillion. And every 100 days, the world adds another trillion in debt. Every country owes, every bank lends, and we, ordinary people, carry both the burden and the interest through taxes and savings. But who's on the other end of this chain? Let's take the US as an example. About half of its $38 trillion debt is owed to its own citizens: banks, pension funds, insurance companies. In other words, America owes. America. You've probably heard America owes China. Technically true, but only about 2% of the total. Japan holds around $1 trillion. China $800 billion. So, most of the US debt is actually self-owned. Here's how it works. The Treasury issues bonds, banks buy them. The central bank buys those bonds back and prints new money. Americans pay taxes. That money goes to interest payments, and the interest goes back into American pension funds. It's a loop that keeps spinning. And it's not just the US, it's everywhere. Japan lends to America. America lends to Europe through the IMF. Europe lends to developing countries via the World Bank. And those countries reinvest their money back into Western bonds. Everyone's holding everyone else's IOUs. It's one massive chain of promises. As long as no one drops their link, the system stays alive. But there's a powerful group behind it all: the markets. Behind government bonds stand hedge funds, pension funds, mega investors, and central banks. They decide who can borrow cheaply and who must pay more. When they lose trust, nations collapse, currencies fall, governments fail. Democracy decides who governs. Markets decide who survives. And at the heart of it all, central banks. They don't just manage debt, they create it. Every bond they buy means new money in circulation. Every dollar you see is someone's debt. There is no such thing as debt-free money. Every banknote carries an invisible message. You owe me. This whole system runs on one thing: trust. As long as investors believe governments will keep paying interest, the machine keeps turning. But when trust fades, everything unravels. When Greece defaulted in 2010, the country nearly collapsed. Interest rates skyrocketed. The IMF and European Central Bank stepped in. But their help came with conditions: higher taxes, wage cuts, mass unemployment. The rescue plan meant sacrifice for the people. The same thing happened in Argentina, in Sri Lanka. When the system fails, the creditors suddenly appear. The IMF, rating agencies, giant funds. Then, the cycle resets. New debts replace old ones. Everything gets restructured. Because in the modern world, debt isn't meant to be repaid. It's meant to continue. Governments never plan to pay their debts. They issue new bonds to pay off the old ones, then issue more again. Economists call this refinancing. The system survives by spinning. And the real product? Interest. Interest is the rent we pay for stability. Today, the global economy depends on that cycle. The US will never pay off its $38 trillion. It'll just keep rolling it over, forever. Japan's been doing this for decades. Its debt is more than twice its GDP, yet it still borrows cheaply, because no one expects repayment. Everyone just wants the system to keep running. Why? Because government debt is the world's safest asset. A US Treasury bond isn't a liability, it's collateral. Banks, funds, and central banks all use it to back their money. If a government actually paid off its debt, the entire system would collapse. Paying it all off would mean stopping the economy itself. So governments keep borrowing, steadily, endlessly. Debt is capitalism's heartbeat. Politicians talk about balancing the budget, but that's just a story to keep people calm. The goal isn't to erase debt, it's to make it believable. Because if belief disappears, numbers stop meaning anything. The truth is this: government debt was never meant to be repaid. It was meant to be trusted. The system runs on faith, but that faith isn't shared equally. Interest flows upward while taxes weigh downward. Debt isn't just between nations, it's between the rich and the poor. That's why inequality and debt rise together. The ones holding the debt get richer. The ones paying it don't. Both the borrower and the lender are part of the same machine. But what happens when that machine runs out of fuel? When new debt can no longer cover the old? Then the question, who do we owe, becomes deeply personal. Because in the end, there's no single villain. Not China, not Wall Street, not the IMF. It's all of them. And it's us. Modern finance turned debt into money. Governments issue it, banks multiply it, investors trade it, and we live our lives through it. The line between debtor and creditor is now blurred. Once, debt meant obligation. Today, it means balance. But when that balance breaks and trust fades, we're reminded that debt is never forever. It's just a promise, waiting to be broken.